In this episode, you're going to see how fast is the Toyota Supra from 0 to 60 with 600 horsepower, and how it's like to drive one of the most legendary JDM cars in the entire world. And of course we're going to take a look at the 2JZ, one of the most famous engines, and see what exactly has been made to this particular car to give it this insane power. Hey guys, and welcome to the new episode of Full Throttle, and today we have a car that doesn't really need an introduction. This is the Toyota Supra Mark IV, and today we'll tell you everything about the model that you have to know. The Toyota Supra is one of the most famous JDM car from the 90s. It has been featured in multiple films and games, and pretty much every car enthusiast in the world has heard of it. And today we'll show you an example that has been tuned, but it also remains stuck in many places, which actually increases the value of the car. So let's see what the Toyota Supra is really made of. Let's see how the Toyota Supra is like to drive. Now, it's absolutely insane. And this is only the second gear. The car has around 650 horsepower, and trust me, it is very quick. You can hear the blow off, and you do feel like you're driving a fucking crazy monster. It's absolutely insane, and the steering wheel is actually very heavy, and it gives you very good information about where the car currently is. It's absolutely bonkers because yes, you do get turbo lag, so before 3000 RPM the car doesn't really feel fast, but once the turbo gets going, it's absolutely mental. I can understand what the hype is behind this car. It's amazing to drive, and it's very cool. But the thing that Toyota Supra is most famous for is the engine. That's the 2JZ, one of the most famous engines in the world. Stock it has between 280 and 330 horsepower, and this car is JDM spec, which means it comes with 330. Of course, as you can notice, under the hood things are not stock, and currently this car has around 650 horsepower. And now let's check out what has been changed. So let's see what has been done to this particular car to give it almost 600 horsepower. Now we have a custom collector and a downpipe. There is a precision turbo kit and a turbo smart blow off. We have tailgate and aeromotive fuel regulator. There is a blitz cooler and a new Motec M600 ECU which controls all of this. Now let's hear how this Toyota Supra sounds. This car has a custom Blitzner spec exhaust system, and it's pretty loud. Let's hear it. So of course the Supra has been featured in many films, especially the Need for Speed one, which had turned the car into something of a car movie legend. And we have features in video games like the Gran Turismo one, which have only strengthened the iconic representation of the Toyota Supra. The design of the front of the Toyota Supra looks unmistakably cool and modern even today. Here we have an aftermarket front bumper which gives the car a bit more aggressive look. You have these typical Japanese headlights which you can never mistake on the road, and overall the car does still look very sporty and modern even 20 or 30 years after it was first released. The Toyota Supra Mark IV is sold in two versions: the coupe, which we have here with a hardtop, and the Targa, which have a top that you can take off like in a Chevrolet Corvette. The difference between the cars is that the Targa might be more expensive because of its popularity due to movies like Fast and the Furious, but the truth is that if you want a driver's car, you have to get the coupe. It's lighter and more rigid, which means it's better to drive. The rear of the Toyota Supra is perhaps the best known angle of the car, starting with this wing, which is absolutely stock and it looks amazing, and we have the tail lights with the four bulbs that you can immediately tell that it's a Supra. We have the Supra badge here with a super cool funky Japanese style font, which is even used in the Supra Mark V. And of course we have a much bigger exhaust tip than the regular car, but everything else here is absolutely stock and it still looks amazing. I think the rear of the Supra is perhaps its best angle. It looks super sporty and wide, and at the same time it manages to remain that classical Japanese 90s look. So the Toyota Supra isn't the most practical car, and you get 290 liters of boot space, which is less than what you get in a McLaren, and the boot itself is kind of heavy to lift and a bit shallow, but still, this is a sports car, and here you get all the space you're going to need for two suitcases because it's a Supra. And if you want, you can actually fold down the rear seats to give you a bit of extra space. Another very cool detail is the radio antenna of the Toyota Supra that rises. The interior of the Toyota Supra is one of the coolest JDM interiors ever made. Yes, the car is old and you won't find any screens or ambient lighting, but everything here looks so cool. You have this fighter jet cockpit style where all the gauges are pointed towards the driver because that's a car that's oriented to the guy behind the wheel. You have a lot of circular gauges, you have a boost meter here, which is very important when the car is tuned because you have to keep those things in mind. We have a manual gearbox, it's on the left of course since the car is Japanese, and you have the classical Toyota steering wheel from the 90s, which still looks kind of cool today. Of course you have a real handbrake, and one of the coolest parts about the car is that it is in fact pretty comfortable. Yes, the seats are sporty, but at the same time they are very soft and you have good visibility up front, and there is enough space for you and the passenger next to you. Of course you still feel like in a sports car, you're sitting very down low, the door handles are right here, and the visibility backwards is absolutely none. But still, the car feels as special as you'd imagine, and I still think that this is one of the coolest interiors Toyota has ever made. The Toyota Supra comes with 2 doors and 4 seats, even though the space in the back isn't ideal. Let me try to hop in back there, which is pretty difficult because you're sitting very low. Actually, there isn't much headroom at all, so you'd best think of the rear seats as an extra storage space like in a Porsche 911, and from time to time somebody could sit back here, but he'll definitely not enjoy his time. Overall, today was one of the most amazing car days we've ever had on the show. The Toyota Supra, a real JDM legend that is just as astounding in real life as it is in the car legends. The car is insanely quick, it's a blast to drive, and it still looks amazing even to this day. So if you have a chance, go ahead and drive one, and maybe even get one if you can afford it, because this is truly a part of the automotive history.